enough, O Zion, that dwellest with the daughter of Babylon. For thus saith Yahweh of hosts, after the glory hath he sent me unto the nations which spoiled you. For he that toucheth you toucheth the apple of his eye.
Shalom, brothers and sisters. The title of this video is Lucifer is Not Satan. There's a great power in the Word or Bible. Truth can clear up a multitude of lies. At the same time, truth taken out of context is a lie. And a lie can destroy many. That is the problem with what has been casually spoken of for hundreds of years by lying Bible scholars, preachers, pastors, ministers, bishops, priests, and ignorant modern-day prophets, which are some of my brothers. Calling Satan Lucifer has been intentional by the wicked, but for some, it has been in ignorance of the word, with no spiritual malice intended. I once wore the shoes of ignorance concerning this subject. I was blind, but now I see. Let's look up the word Lucifer. H1966. Brown's Drivers Briggs definition. Lucifer, light bearer. The first definition is shining one, morning star, Lucifer. 1a. Of the king of Babylon and Satan figuratively. 2. Halil, describing the king of Babylon. Now, in the first definition, shining one, morning star. That is the true definition, along with the king of Babylon. This is telling you what Lucifer is and who it is talking about. It is talking about the king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar. And one thing we have to keep in mind is prophecy is sometimes a dual prophecy, having meaning during the time that it is spoken of and in a future time. And in this case, this is a dual prophecy, speaking of the king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar, and modern day Edom that we are experiencing now. So we see Lucifer is talking about the king of Babylon. It is not saying that it is Satan or his name. Let's look at an accurate description of Satan. Ezekiel 28, verse 12. Son of man, take up a lamentation upon the king of Tyrus, and say unto him, Thus saith the Lord Almighty, Thou sealest up the sum, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. Satan is also known as the king of Tyrus. He was full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. Verse 13. Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of the Most High. Every precious stone was thy covering, the sardius, topaz, and the diamond, the beryl, the onyx, and the jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, and the carbuncle, and gold. The workmanship of thy tabrets and of thy pipes was prepared in thee in the day that thou wast created. Thou art the anointed cherub that covereth, and I have set thee so. Thou wast upon the holy mountain of the Most High. Thou hast walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire. Thou wast perfect in thy ways from the day that thou wast created, till iniquity was found in thee. By the multitude of thy merchandise they have filled the midst of thee with violence, and thou hast sinned. Therefore I will cast thee as profane out of the mountain of the Most High, and I will destroy thee, O covering cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire. So we have a clear description of Satan, and there is no mention of him being the morning star, which is what Lucifer means in Latin. Now, we'll look at the scripture that identifies the one that is the morning star. Revelations 22, verse 16. I, Yahawashi, have sent my angel to testify unto you these things in the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David, and the bright and morning star. Revelations 22:16 tells us that Yahawashi, or Christ, is the bright and morning star, the morning star. The description of Satan in Ezekiel 28:12 through verse 16 don't say anything about him being the morning star. You'll see that scriptures Christianity used to deceive you is taken out of context, and that make you and others think Satan is Lucifer, which means morning star. That scripture is talking about a man, and that man is King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon. In the scriptures, Nebuchadnezzar exalted himself, and he is being mocked after death by other kings that came and went before him. The translators of the King James Version took the word from the Latin Vulgate. When translated, the Latin word Lucifer, uncapitalized, meaning the morning star, the planet Venus, or, as an adjective, light bringing. They never translated that word into Greek with the rest of the Bible. Let me say that again. They never translated the word Lucifer into Greek with the rest of the Bible. Lucifer was never a name of anyone, but a title, a description of the planet Venus. Greeks and Romans turned the phrase morning star into a pagan tradition of false god worship, because the Greeks and Romans deify the planets. It is Christ that is referred to as the bright and morning star, which should more likely be the bright and shiny one. There's a lot more information out there on this, but we have enough to put this lion dog or dogs to rest. Let's go to Isaiah. Isaiah 14, verse 1. For Yahweh will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. The Most High will have mercy on Israel, and choose Israel, and put us in our own land. The nations will be under our rule, and they will depend on the house of Israel for all things. Verse 2. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of Yahweh for servants and handmaids. And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. These scriptures are proof that Israel will rule and not be equal with the nations. Many people of the nations will be servants in our land and serve us. Another word for servants is slave. However you want to dress it up, that's what it is. Many in the world can't seem to come to grips with this, but that won't stop the future from rolling over them. Verse 3. And it shall come to pass in the day that Yahweh shall give thee rest from thy sorrow, and from thy fear, and from the hard bondage wherein thou wast made to serve, that thou shalt take up this proverb, against the king of Babylon, and say, how hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. In our day and time, the rest of the people will taunt Babylon, the old kingdom, and the modern day kingdom that rules the world. Also remember, Edom today consider themselves to be the enlightened ones, or the illuminated ones, or the bringers of light. In all truthfulness, they are the bringers of darkness, destruction, and death. So we will taunt them with this proverb that is in Isaiah chapter 14. Verse 5. Yahweh had broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. he who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger, is persecuted, and none hindereth. This is a dual prophecy that fit King Nebuchadnezzar and the global Edomite system today. They both were hard and are hard on the nations in the world. Verse 7. The whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing. Yea, the fir trees rejoice at thee, and the cedars of Lebanon, saying, Since thou art laid down, no feller is come up against us. There was peace and rest when Nebuchadnezzar's empire fell, and will be peace, true peace, when Edom is brought down by Christ. Verse 9. Hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. It hath raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations. When you hear Nebuchadnezzar, you think of him and Edom today because it's a dual prophecy. Isaiah is telling us that hell is moved to meet Nebuchadnezzar upon his death. The dead is awakened for Nebuchadnezzar and Edom, even all the chief ones of the earth. It had raised up from their thrones all the kings of the nations, because Nebuchadnezzar and Edom proclaims themselves to be better than those other kings that were before them. Verse 10. All they shall speak and say unto thee, Art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? The dead is even taunting or making fun of Nebuchadnezzar and Edom, saying, Are you also become weak like us? Are you become like us, dead, with no power or might? Verse 11. Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vials, the worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? Your majesty or pride is brought down to the grave. Your body is rotting in the grave like ours. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? They are really digging into Nebuchadnezzar and Edom, who proclaim themselves to be like God, because if he were Lucifer, the true morning star, he would not be in the grave dead like them. Verse 13. For thou hast said in thy heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of the Most High. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. You have to understand something. Even though Nebuchadnezzar himself was not an Edomite, he and Edom possessed the same spirit and wicked characteristics and system we call Babylon. Verse 15. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, the sides of the pit. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, Is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms? Is this the man? It kind of reminded me of Stargate when Daniel was in the restaurant and he met Anubis and realized that Anubis was this short little dumpy man. So it's kind of like he's saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms? This is being said singularly of Nebuchadnezzar and of the so-called white man or Edom. Is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms? So we can see that this is not talking about Satan, the cherub that had iniquity found in him. This is about a man, Nebuchadnezzar, and the white man today, Edom. Verse 17. That made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of his prisoners. Nebuchadnezzar laid cities waste as he conquered them, and Edom will leave the world as a wilderness before Christ's return, serving their master Satan, the cherub that had iniquity found in him. It is a very hard and painful thing for so-called white people to admit that their people have destroyed nations, killed and murdered countless people, destroyed global ecosystems, destroyed the perfect food that the Most High created with their GMOs, and destroying the earth in general in ways we don't even understand or know about. It's hard for someone to admit that, but that is the first step to walking on the path of truth. One thing we do know is that it is not people of color controlling the world and controlling nations that have the power to destroy the earth. Integration of whites and blacks have made it very difficult for black people today to see the truth concerning Edom. That will cost them in the end. Although there are some decent Edomites today and in time past, Scripture or prophecy will not be altered. Revelations 2, verse 26. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron. As the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I received of my Father. And I will give him the morning star. And I will give him the morning star. He of Israel that overcomes and keep the word of the Most High to the end, to us will he give power over the nations, and we will rule them, the nations, with the rod of iron, and break them when they don't obey. He will also give us the morning star, or the shining one we call Yahawashi or Christ. He is certainly not going to give us Satan. So you know morning star or Lucifer is not Satan. Now, is he? No. The deception of lies in traditions centuries old is powerful witchcraft that has most of the world under its spell, but we will overcome it one lie at a time until righteousness is like the air we breathe. Nebuchadnezzar and Edom today are being mocked. This dual prophecy from Isaiah mocks them. Satan's name is not Lucifer. He is not the morning star. Christ is. He is not the shining one that is given to Israel. Christ is. Hopefully, enough light has been shined on this subject so you can see it clearly and understand how easy it is to be deceived when Scripture is taken out of context. Keep things in context, Israel. Let context be your primary goal in studying the Word. Peace be with you, Israel. TikTok.